My name is Joseph, Joseph, Chacon, Chacon. I'm an assistant chief with the Austin Police Department over the Investigations Bureau. I am here to talk today about an incident that occurred this past Friday to give an update on an explosive device in the north part of Austin. I want to give you a few more comments that were made than what was made on the day of the incident to just kind of keep everybody up to date on what's going on. Obviously, we're still very early in this investigation. It is a joint investigation with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF. But APD is the lead agency in the investigation. We are investigating it as a suspicious death, and I just wanted to give you some more comments on what were made on that day. But to refresh, back on this past Friday, March 2nd, at approximately 6:55 a.m., a 911, actually multiple 911 calls were made regarding an explosion that had happened in the 1100 block of Haverford Drive, and that there was a person there who had traumatic injuries. Officers arrived moments later, along with fire EMS, did their best to give life-saving measures to this individual, but the injuries were quite traumatic, and he actually succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced about not quite an hour later. Obviously, when we arrived, we saw that there had been an explosion of some type. What we have determined in the following days is that that this appeared to be a package, and that we are, as I said, treating it as a suspicious death. We don't have enough information yet to call it a homicide. So right now we're trying to determine how did the package get there, and who was the intended target. We do feel that this was targeted at somebody. We're still trying to figure out whether that was the individual who died or not. The deceased is Anthony Stephen House, a black male born on June 15th, 1978. He did reside there, and at this point we are trying to determine motive. I think what's important to talk about today is that anytime we have a bomb go off like that and somebody dies, the first thing that people think is terrorism. While we cannot completely rule it out at this point, we do not believe that terrorism is a motive in this death. It appears to be an isolated incident at this point, and obviously as we move through this investigation, if that changes and we do feel that there is an ongoing danger to the public, we would notify the public immediately. But at this point, we don't feel that that is the case. The ATF is actually going to be doing the post-blast investigation with regards to the device itself, and will keep us updated as we will keep them updated into the motive and other parts of this investigation as we move forward. I think also that when people hear about this, that there is this concern about what do I do should I find a device on my front porch or whatever. And of course, we know that delivery folks leave packages on our front porch every day in this city. So I think that in the end, the best advice that I can give with regards to that is to use common sense and good judgment and to trust your gut. I think that if people are expecting a package and they go out there and find one, that's probably the package that they were waiting for. But if you are not, and your gut is telling you that something is wrong, you certainly can call the police department, and we can begin the process of trying to figure out where that came from. Having said that, I do not believe that we have somebody that's going around leaving packages like this. I think so. I say that because I know there are going to be questions about it, and I'd certainly entertain any questions that come forward. But I think that there is no good, quick answer that I can give to that. In the end, it comes down to individual. So I know that's not a whole lot more information, but we are, as I said, trying to determine motive. We do feel that this was a package that was left there that was intended to hurt someone and possibly kill them. And so we'll just keep updating you as it moves forward.
Do you have any details about the victim's life? Like, what did he do? Or
I don't have a whole lot of information on the victim. That is one thing that we're asking for the public's help, actually, is anybody that knew Mr. House, that knows somebody who might have a problem with him or might want to see harm come to him or his family, that they call either the homicide unit or they can report anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Also, anybody that has information about this package or how it might have been constructed or why somebody would have left it there. Obviously, if they have any information on that, we'd ask for that as well.
Do you know how the package was delivered? By what service? Was it just in the mail? Was it FedEx?
Yeah, we don't know at this point.
You know what was in the package, what kind of device it was or anything like that?
That information actually resides right now with the ATF. And so we have not gotten an update from them as to how that, the kind of the reconstruction of that is coming along. But I'm sure in the end we'll figure that out.
Do we know how it detonated? Was he trying to open it or was it just picking it up?
Again, that's a part of the investigation right now that resides with them, and I don't have those details.
What's the issue with calling this a homicide? Why call it a suspicious death if you're still clearly suspicious of someone?
Right. So we cannot rule out that the intent, I mean, it's just too early right now to figure out. Obviously, it was intended to harm somebody, but we can't rule out that Mr. House didn't construct this himself and then accidentally detonate it, in which case it would be an accidental death. So, so that's why we're not calling it a homicide yet.
Was anybody else home at the time?
Yes, there were people in the house.
Was Mr. House able to say anything while he was being treated?
No, he was not.
Last question.
Do you have a suspect at all? Or?
That's something that we're asking actually the public's help with. You know, we continue to work the scene and try to gather whatever evidence we can through this investigation, and it's going to go back into figuring out who Mr. House was, you know, in contact with and what kind of motives that we can develop. But at this point, we don't have a strong suspect in this. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yes. And they will be having have a photo of Mr. House available for you guys. I think that's coming down here right now. Is that right? I'm here to give an update on murder number 3 and the current murder that occurred this morning. Before I go into murder number 3, is everybody interested in that? Or I know it's been in the news quite a bit and all the details are already out. We don't really have much of an update, but are you guys wanting an interview? Okay. My name is Jason Staniszewski. It's STANISZEWSKI, Lieutenant over Investigations. And this is going to be referenced the first one, then I'll go over the second murder after I'm done with this. This past Thursday, officer received a tip from an individual who stated he had received a text message that a Jose Amaya had killed his wife. The officer contacted the homicide unit and they began to investigate the tip. The tip led them to the 5400 block of Loma Lane and identifying the victim, Patricia Campos, and a possible suspect as Jose Amaya. What they learned was that she hadn't been seen for a couple days, and so they set up on the house and they observed the victim and the suspect's vehicle outside. We also received a text message saying that the suspect wanted to take his own life because of that he admitted to murdering Patricia. Since we had that information, the SWAT unit was called out. They surrounded the house with the assistance of patrol, and a call out was initiated. Mr. Amaya, once the call out was initiated, came out on his own accord and was placed into custody. Officers then made entry into the trailer, this is a trailer park, and located the decedent, Patricia Campos, and her death was consistent with being when it was first reported the day before. Mr. Amaya was interviewed, and then he was booked into jail for murder. Any questions?
Can you speak to the length of time it took from the report to investigators actually moving in and making an arrest? And she was in the house for 2 days, as I understand.
Correct. Well, approximately 2 days. We don't have the exact timeline of how long she was there, but from when we received the report, we received it Thursday morning, and about around noon, and then entry was made about 4 o'clock.
Okay, so you received the report the same day.
Yes, just a matter of hours early before.
Does the person who reported it, did they wait 2 days? Do they have any kind of responsibility or any kind of?
As far as responsibility, they reported it when I believe when they received the tip, and they were concerned about it because it was obviously the suspect, Mr. Maya, was admitting to the murder, and nobody had heard from Patricia, and so then that's when they contacted an officer that they knew, and then that's when that officer contacted the homicide department. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I guess you good. We had brought victim services here in case anybody would like to talk about, the issue with domestic violence, since this was a husband and wife. If you guys need any questions about what a victim should do if they're in that situation, and so if you would like any follow-up questions.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Can you tell us your first name and last name?
Sure. Roxana Ortega Hart.
Who spelled that?
RoxanaOrtega-HART. And I'm a counselor with Victim Services.
So yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about, what a victim in this situation should do. Domestic violence, we all know, is a very big issue and leads to a lot of violence here in Austin.
Sure. Well, when a victim decides to leave a relationship that is violent, that is usually the most dangerous time for a victim. So very careful plans should be made. They can always reach out to APD's Victim Services. We have counselors who can help the victim plan or refer them to other agencies in Austin that can help with that. They can also call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's 24/7, and they can be reached at 1-800-799-7233, and they can direct them to resources anywhere in the nation. Save Alliance is our local domestic violence shelter. It was formerly known as Safe Place. They are also 24/7. They can provide shelter, counseling, and other resources. They can be reached at 512-267-7233. They recently came up with a new text program, so instead of making a phone call, if a victim feels more comfortable with text message, they can text to 737-888-7233 and speak with someone about their safety or get advice.
And I guess if you could just stress that this program is also available to people who are undocumented, and if it's available in Spanish as well.
Absolutely. We have Spanish-speaking counselors within APD's Victim Services, and SAFE also provides Spanish-speaking counselors, as well as a National Domestic Violence Hotline. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.